What is the strangest thing a stranger has ever handed you without a word? I was on my way home from work when it happened. It was one of those evenings when the city felt drained. The sky was heavy, traffic crawled, and people moved around like they were half awake. I had finished late and decided to take the bus instead of walking the rest of the way. I remember feeling tired enough that I almost fell asleep standing at the stop. When the bus arrived, I stepped in, scanned my card, and looked for a seat. The only open spot was next to a quiet, older man dressed in a simple gray coat. He looked harmless, so I sat down and tried not to think about how worn out I felt. The bus lurched forward, and everyone settled into the usual empty stare people have when they ride home. What happened next still feels unreal. The man beside me reached into his coat pocket. He didn't turn to look at me. He didn't speak. He simply pulled out a folded piece of paper, held it in his palm, and extended it toward me. No hesitation, no sign of emotion. His eyes remained fixed on the seat in front of him. I looked at him, thinking maybe he had confused me with someone else. Maybe he thought I was someone he knew, but he still didn't look my way. His hand stayed steady in the air, paper waiting. Something about his calm expression made the moment feel heavier than it should have. I decided to take it. The paper felt warm from his coat. He didn't react when I touched it. He simply lowered his hand again and placed it on his knee. Then he went still, completely still, not sleeping, not dazed, just waiting for something that only he understood. I hesitated before unfolding it. I wasn't even sure why. I think a part of me felt like I was opening something I wasn't supposed to see. Still, curiosity won. Inside was a simple handwritten message. No signature, no date. Do not go home yet. I froze. At first I thought it was a prank, maybe a weird attempt at humor, but nothing about the man beside me hinted at a joke. He didn't smile or smirk. He didn't look at me for approval or confusion. He just sat there, quiet and still, as if he had already forgotten I existed. I read the note again. The words were careful and steady, not rushed or messy, just clear enough to feel intentional. I leaned slightly toward him and whispered, "Is this for me? Did you mean to give this to someone else?" He didn't answer. Not a nod, not a blink, nothing. I felt my pulse rise. The bus rolled past familiar shops and streetlights, but suddenly everything seemed louder. The sound of the engine, the chatter in the back, even the way the bus shook felt sharper. My stop was coming up. Normally I would stand early, get ready to step off the moment the doors opened. Instead, I stayed seated, clutching that note, watching the man's expressionless face like it would suddenly explain everything. When the bus slowed near my street, I didn't move. I watched the doors open. I saw the path I always walked. I imagined my front door, my quiet house, the routine I followed every day, but I didn't get off. The doors closed again and the bus rolled on. The man beside me didn't react to my decision. He didn't seem to care at all. He never looked at me, never checked if I followed the note, never acknowledged what he had done. He simply kept staring forward. A few stops later, he stood. Again, no words. He walked toward the exit, stepped off the bus, and vanished into a small crowd of people waiting at the next stop. I watched him for as long as I could. He never once looked back. I stayed on the bus until the last stop. Then I waited inside the station, unsure of what I was waiting for. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I couldn't shake the tight feeling in my chest. Something about the way he handed me that note felt too deliberate to ignore. About an hour later, I finally headed home. I expected everything to look normal, and at first it did. Quiet street, lights off in the neighbor's yard, my porch light still glowing, but as I reached my driveway, I saw police lights. 2 cars, one officer at my door, another speaking to a neighbor. My stomach dropped. I hurried over, introduced myself, and asked what was going on. The officer told me that someone had tried to force my back door open. A neighbor heard the noise and called it in. The intruder was gone before the police arrived. They didn't know who it was or what they wanted. I stood there listening, the note still in my pocket. I didn't tell the officers about the man on the bus. I still don't know why. Maybe because I couldn't explain it without sounding disturbed. Maybe because I felt the moment belonged to me alone. I only nodded along, answered their questions, and waited until they left. When I finally entered my house, I locked every door and sat on the couch with the note in my hand. I read it again. The writing looked even more deliberate now. I never saw that man again. I rode the same bus for months. Same route, same time, same tired faces, but not him. To this day, I don't know who he was or how he knew. All I know is this. Without a word, a stranger handed me a note that saved me from walking into my own house at the wrong moment. And I still keep that note in a drawer by my bed.